Welcome, everyone, to the Success Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Ari Jakobov, and today I am here with a very, very special guest. Now, this guest is not only a dear friend, he is easily one of the most successful realtors I know. And just right now, listening to this podcast, you're going to see exactly why, based on his personality, how he carries himself, his energy he brings to every single conversation. And this guy, I mean, he's on track to do 40 million in sales this year. And just for perspective, most realtors don't touch that number in 5 years, sometimes 10 years. So, with that being said, Avo, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, bro.
Dude, it is an honor. It really is my pleasure. You're someone I really respect and look up to. And it's really funny. We were having dinner last night, us and a few other buddies. And you said, "Hey, Ari, I'm looking forward to being on your podcast. Are you going to bring some raw milk?" And I think you said that jokingly, but I also take jokes very serious. And so here we are. I brought the raw milk. I actually got gifted this today for my birthday by a dear friend, Teddy. Shout out to Teddy. But um, we got the raw milk. Have you ever tried raw milk before?
I have not, but I've honestly woken up today and looking forward to this more than anything.
Okay.
So
Well,
let's break the seal.
yeah, I'm pouring you a cup right now.
Ooh, full cup
And
too.
and just so you know, raw milk, massive benefits. I don't drink normal pasteurized milk because the good bacteria from the milk is stripped away. And the way milk is processed nowadays is not ideal for optimal human consumption. Let's just say raw milk has all the nutrients you need, and you're genuinely going to feel it after you drink it. You'll understand why. So I'm plugging raw milk. And just so you know, it's not sponsored. It should be, but it's not. Cheers.
Hey, I couldn't think of a better way to spend your birthday with you than chugging a glass of raw milk together. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Happy birthday.
I appreciate you, man. What do you think?
Ooh, that is good stuff.
It's like creamy,
You
rich in
can
flavor.
taste the nutrients inside of it.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, it's like raw liver. No, I'm kidding. I don't eat that. I eat cooked liver. But I guess on the topic of real estate now, man, and obviously your success on track to do 40 million just this year alone in under 3 years of being in the business. Like, how have you done that? And more importantly, I want to start from the beginning. I want to start from your story. How did you get to where you're at? How did you get into real estate? Tell us about that.
Ooh, all right, cool. Well, starting from the top, I think we got to go all the way back to, who I am and who my parents are. So I don't know if you knew this, but I'm actually first generation born in the United States. My parents came here as immigrants from another country with the clothes on their backs and a small suitcase. And they actually settled not far in New Jersey from where they got off the boat. So my parents came here to live the American dream, build a family, and provide a life for us that they never got to have. And, being born in the United States to immigrants, I always saw how hard they worked. My parents were the hardest workers I ever saw and met. And they weren't always around for, us growing up because they were working hard. It wasn't that I ever thought they didn't love me or didn't want to be there. They were just trying to provide. And I remember so many memories growing up of my mom just saying, "You need to grow up and be somebody." And that
Mm.
was it. That always just stuck with me of like, you need to grow up and be somebody. And it was always, packaged behind work hard
Mm.
and what hard work could do for you. And it was really cool because I saw my parents build a life and provide for our family and really live the American dream. They came here with nothing. They ended up buying homes and starting and running businesses and buying all these toys and things like that. And they did it, right? So I think that's my DNA
Yeah,
is I was taught to be somebody and work my ass off for it.
clearly. It,
Yeah.
it runs in your blood, man.
Yeah.
And I respect your parents for that. My parents are also immigrants that immigrated here. So I'm also first generation. And I I understand that work ethic that
Yeah.
comes from someone that wasn't born here. They come here from a place of less opportunity. They see the opportunity and they seize it.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas I feel a lot of people who are born here, not always the case, but sometimes they don't see the opportunity they have. And I feel like that's why I think work ethic really reflects in immigrants.
Yeah.
Like you can see that throughout. So that's cool, man. It clearly runs in the DNA. So when you were kind of transitioning into career after high school, did you go to college? And reason I asked that, I know a lot of immigrants really push that. I mean, my parents
Mhm.
pushed it on me. What was your experience with that?
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, I would have gone to college. My parents always told me, you got to go to school, you got to study, you got to be smart, and this and that. But that's not how it worked out for me. And starting in high school, when I want to say it was like my sophomore year of high school, was when I turned 16. My mom had like an old Mercedes Benz, and she was like, "Hey, if you get a job, this car is yours." What did I do? Of course I went and got a job. I wanted the car,
Mm,
right? So it was funny because like all the kids at my high school, all the friends, like everybody worked at the Burger King right across the street. That was just like the go-to job. I didn't want to flip burgers. I don't know. I just kind of knew that wasn't meant for me. I was meant to do more. One of my good buddies, he was a senior, so a couple years older. I was a sophomore. He got a job at some call center, and he was like, "Hey, you'd probably be really good at this. You should come interview." So I went and interviewed, had no clue what I was getting myself into. Never thought about a career path in sales or talking on the phones. So I just kind of blindly followed him, but I feel like it all happened for a reason. Um, I got a job there. Basically, we would cold call people who had like direct TV, and we would try to upsell them on like Stars and Showtime, like HBO, the premium packages.
mhm.
And then we would also call into like Boston and sell the Boston Globe newspaper. Terrible job. Hated it. But I realized I was good at sales, that I could connect with people. I knew how to talk, I knew how to carry a conversation, but more importantly, what I loved about it was the opportunity to earn commission and more money based on my effort. It wasn't you're going to make 765 an hour flipping burgers. It
Mhm,
was you're going to make 765 an hour, and check this out. You know what my first
mhm.
commission checks were like? An extra 50 cents a sale. Okay. And I would make a few sales a day. So, like a couple extra bucks a day on top of my minimum wage salary. But although it wasn't a lot of money, like my bi-weekly paychecks would be a few $100, like not a lot of money, but I realized that my effort directly correlated my income. And that's where I kind of fell in love with sales.
Dude, that's the most important thing by far, and that's why I'm in sales, right? And to have your income not be a reflection of the time you put in, but rather your skill level, your effort.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most beautiful thing about what we do in sales and entrepreneurship, is because your income is a direct reflection of the value you provide either to the business or the marketplace.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful that you saw that as well at such a young age. I mean, I had the same realization dropping out of college, and that is the exact reason I did. I said, all these people, they're going to get jobs, and then they're going to have to ask their bosses for raises, and the boss may like someone else better. You may be the hardest
Yeah.
worker in the room, but the boss is going to choose someone else because they have a better relationship or they've been at the company longer. It's all about time,
Mhm.
right? I didn't care about time. I cared about results. And you have obviously the same mentality. So I applaud you for that. So after that position, what happened from there?
Yeah. So I kind of bounced around a couple different sales jobs early on. I was at that call center for a couple of years. From there, I actually dabbled into car sales a little bit. Around that time, kind of later high school years, I kind of hung out with the wrong kids and went down a path I shouldn't have. But that also taught me a lot, and I'm grateful for that. Kind of a testament to who you surround yourself with will kind of dictate your future. Without getting too into it, I hung out with the wrong crowd. I did some dumb shit. I got into drugs, and I was able to get out of that pretty quickly, but that definitely held me back for a couple of years. Um, but I got into car sales. That's when I really started to earn like big commission checks. I was like one of the top 3 sales reps in our
75 cents a sale this time?
no, no. This was the one that I worked at was more based on units. It wasn't like a commission per deal. It was like where you end the month. If you're like 10 units, it's this much commission, 12 units, 15 units.
Okay.
I was consistently doing like 18 to 25 units a month. So I was getting like $10,000 commission checks at 19, 20, 21 years old.
Oh,
So this was on top of like a pretty small base salary, but at 20, 21 years old, like I had my first six-figure year. And that's when I realized I'm onto something, right? The call center wasn't it. I was making a couple $100. I was making sales, but I wasn't making that kind of money. It was the car sales where I realized, wow, I can really earn a livable income and a wage. And at the time, the dream was make six figures. I made six figures and I realized it's not enough money, right?
right.
So I did the car sales for a couple of years. I hated it. Schedules were miserable. You're working 7 days a week, 10 to 12-hour days. Like if you're not present, you're not selling cars. If you're not selling cars, you're not making money. So that got old pretty quickly. And then I got into corporate tech sales. I actually had put on my resume that I had a bachelor's degree because it was a requirement just to get your foot in the door.
Mm.
And I put on my resume that I had a bachelor's degree. I got the interview and I got the job. They never verified that I had a
Look at that.
degree.
That saved you 4 years of time and 100K in debt.
You got to fake it till you make it, bro. You
Bro, good
know?
for you, man. That's finesse right there.
Yeah. The best part is, I don't know if I should tell this story. I don't know who's listening, but I'll tell the story. When I was working at this corporate job, I won't say the name of the company. While I was working there, like a couple years in, I had established myself. I was a top rep. I was moving up in the ranks. They're like, hey, there is a career fair at ASU. Will you go work the booth at the career fair and represent ASU? You went there, right? I'm like, yeah, duh. So they sent me to go represent our company at the ASU career fair because I had it on my resume. But
Bro, that's hilarious.
you got to fake it till you make it. I would have never gotten that job had I not done that stupid thing. But that stupid thing led to an amazing career in the corporate world. And I spent almost 10 years in corporate sales. I started at the ground level, entry level sales rep. Again, quickly realized that I wasn't the best sales rep. There was always somebody better than me, somebody more skilled. I was always the hardest worker. So it wasn't a matter of like I had the best verbiage and language and knew exactly what to say.
Mm.
Maybe a little bit of that. I have the right personality. It was more that I was just a dog. Like every day at the end of the day, they would send out an update. They had it like your QBR. I know you don't watch sports, so you probably don't know what that means, but they would calculate like how many dials you made, what was your talk time, how many appointments set. And based on that, they would give you a score every day. At the end of the day, they would send out the top three, like on a podium with like your headshot, right? My goal was to be on that podium every damn day. So just by pure effort and grit, I was always one of the top sales reps. I can't say I was always the best or always the top one, but I was always in that conversation just because of my hustle. And I quickly got a few promotions. I grew to like a senior level. I got some other opportunities into leadership. Jumped around to a few different companies over 10 plus years. And really, it was 3 years ago where I was just kind of getting sick of it. I was in a leadership role. I was running the training department for this tech startup. And I just realized I couldn't take vacations. The whole company was dependent on me being there. It got to a point where I wasn't making as much in the role because I was just on a base salary.
Mm.
And I had a good, six-figure salary, but I wasn't making the $10,000 commission checks. I wasn't doing the job that fulfilled me, which was being in the trenches, right? And that's when I started to think like, what what can I do to put my skills in use? Like I'm a solid individual contributor, right? What can I do and create a career for myself where I can utilize those skills? I can build an amazing business. I can live a fulfilled life and I can make more money than I ever have. And I kind of threw around a few ideas in my head and I kept coming back to real estate. The company I was working for, we would help people build custom homes or do home additions and remodels. I was exposed to a lot of that process and the permitting, the design, the contractors, and the construction of it. So it kind of led me down this path to real estate. My plan was not to leave as abruptly as I did. I probably shouldn't have. I was not in a position financially to just quit my job,
Mhm.
but I got my license and I was like, you know what? I'm sitting on this meeting and I have to do XYZ and train these agents, but like I'm getting invited to these real estate masterminds. I'm getting invited to go learn the career I'm excited about and I can't do that, right? So I was like, F this, I'm out. I literally put in my 2-week notice. I cashed out a lot of money out of my 401k and I said, I'm going to quit my job. I'm not making any income guaranteed. I'm going to give myself 12 months. I pulled out enough money to survive for 12 months and I said, back against the wall, go figure it out.
Dude, I absolutely love that because most people would not be willing to give up a six-figure salary to go in an industry where the failure rate is literally 90%.
Yeah.
Like most agents fail in their first year and they quit.
Yeah.
And you doubled down on that. You went forward, you took the massive risk, and it's obviously paid off big
Yeah.
time. And dude, I have no words except I admire that.
Yeah. I appreciate it. The best part was when I put in my 2-week notice at my tech startup job, my boss pulled me into a room and said exactly that. He said, you're making a dumb decision.
Mm,
Most agents fail in their first 12 months. I said, I'm not most people, right? I'm not most agents.
wow.
He forgot who he was talking to. And I took a massive bet on myself. And honestly, it was the back against the wall mentality. It was the
Yeah.
do or die, right? Sink or swim. I think if I had not quit my job and just said, I'm going to do real estate on the side and I'm going to try to figure it out. And if and when it gets to a point where I'm making money, I'm going to quit my salary job, I would have never made it.
And that's what most people think is the right thing to do. Most people
Hmm.
think it's best to ease into it, have a plan B. But the truth is, your plan B should be to make your plan A work. Because if you have a
Yeah.
plan B, you're going to end up falling back on it.
Yeah.
And I had the same exact mentality. I feel like our stories are very parallel. And like
Hmm.
I'm just learning this about you now, but when I dropped out of college, same thing. I went to my parents. I said, most realtors fail. Don't do it. You're not going to succeed, especially with how young you are. And I said, I'm not most people.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make it work. And that's what happened. And there's the same story with you. And so what I'm learning and what I'm uncovering is people who take big risks and most importantly, believe in themselves, like genuinely, they know deep down they're going to succeed. Like those are the people that actually make it
Yeah.
because when shit gets tough, they still have that fire in them, that belief.
Yep.
And that's what pushes them forward. And that's the difference between people that make it and don't. It's that belief in yourself and that you can do it. So,
100%.
dude, I love that. Um, what's been I guess how do you feel? Like, do you have the life you want now? Like, are you living the life you expected to live? I know you mentioned something about vacations and wanting more flexibility and increased income. Like, has it met your expectations?
10x.
Really?
I have built the life that I dreamed of. And I'm not where I want to be. And I know I have a lot of work to do to get to that point. But even just where I am right now, I pinch myself and try to remind myself this isn't a dream. But like when I took that bold risk and quit my job to jump into real estate, my frustrations were that I couldn't travel. I had a fixed schedule. I had to be present Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, right? The company was dependent on me for training and all these things. I had hobbies. I like to golf. I like to fish. The only times I could do things like that were Saturday or Sunday. With that schedule, Sunday was the only day my wife and I were both off. So Sundays are off limits. It would leave Saturdays. So it'd be like a Tuesday, and I'm like, oh, I want to fish or I want to golf. I gotta wait till Saturday. And every day of the week was just kind of a countdown until I had the free time to go enjoy my hobbies. That was a frustration. Couldn't travel, couldn't enjoy my hobbies, fixed income. I'm never going to get to where I want to be in life making 100K a year. It'll pay my bills. We might have some fun money here and there, but it's not going to give me the life I want. I've always dreamed big, and I know most people don't. And that's okay. If you're happy making six figures, no judgment. That's cool. I wasn't happy.
Mm.
So
Was there ever a moment throughout your real estate career where you felt it wasn't going to work? And if so, what kept you going?
there were definitely times in the first 6 months where I struggled. I don't want to say I thought it wasn't going to work because my only mindset was that you're going to make it work.
Mhm.
But I broke down. I had no income coming in. It took me 5 months to get my first deal under contract. Like I didn't have a crazy fast start in terms of like, oh, I'm licensed. Now it's hit the ground running. I got my license in January of 23. I didn't close my first deal until June. So I went months with no income. Thank God I cashed out my 401k and I had money to survive. Thank God I had a wife who works and has good income to support us. And we had those tough conversations early on of, I'm going to bet on myself. If push comes to shove, do you got me? She said, I got you. Go for it. So I was able to do that, but there were times where I would break down and I would get stressed out that I had no money coming in. I'm working my ass off 10, 12, 14 hours a day. Literally it was fight or flight. Like it was back against the wall every single day. Wake up, grind. What can I do to go earn some business today? And I did that consistently for months. And I still do that today, but I feel like without that mentality and that sink or swim situation, I would have never figured it out. So I can't sit here and say it was all rainbows and butterflies early on because it was tough. It was arguably one of the most difficult things I've done in my life, but it's paid off because today I travel more than I ever have, ever in my life. My wife and I have taken more vacations in the last 12 months than I probably have in my entire life. Um, we live the life that we want. I have free time to enjoy my hobbies. And while I'm traveling the most I ever have and golfing and fishing more than I ever have, I'm making more money than I ever have, all at the same time. So it's crazy to think that the old mindset would have said, there is no way you can live a fulfilled life and travel and make all this money. I'm doing that. And that is what is special to me is all of these things can be true all at once.
Wow. I love that, man. That's really cool that you have that, you know. In just 2 years, you've been able to do what takes most agents 10 years. What's the real reason you're winning?
I think it is a combination of my hustle, my mindset that I won't quit and I won't fail, and strong relationships.
Yeah,
And
I think strong relationships is really your strong suit.
yeah,
I had you speak in front of my team last week about how you've built your business and what you've done. And what I can tell you, man, every single guy on my team was mind blown. Like they couldn't stop talking about you afterward. They're like, Avo's awesome. What a cool guy, dude. What he's built is unreal. I mean,
that's cool.
like you really have a way of making an impression on people, a good one, a lasting one with your, past clients, with the current clients you're working with future clients. Like, where did you learn that skill from?
You know what? The relationships are a key, but you know what I'm a big believer in that isn't talked about much? It's your energy. When you walk into a room, do you have hunched over shoulders and are you shy and do you not impact people? Maybe those are bad examples, but you meet someone and you're just like, that person has good energy. I enjoy being around that person. On the other side of that is like, oh man, that was
Draining.
draining. That
Yeah.
was stressful just
Yeah.
being in the same room with them. We didn't even talk, but I could just feel their negativity, right? I know I come with good energy. I'm a social person. I'm a likable dude. I can be friends with this wall right now if you ask me to. You put me in public, I'm making a new friend. Like my wife jokes and laughs about it because we can't go anywhere without me just talking to somebody.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's an innate skill that I have. Maybe it's I was born that way, but it's the relationships that have really fueled my business. My business today is almost entirely built on the people that I know, my friends, my family, people I've grown up with, people I went to school with. whether we were super close or not, and referrals.
Going back to the topic of energy, I think, like you said, people don't realize the importance of that. It's a word that's thrown around so lightly,
Yeah.
but it's the biggest thing that I preach as well when I train people.
Hmm.
It's your energy, and I have a way of like manipulating my energy to increase um what some would call vibrations or aura, whatever it is, and I can get into that in a second. But I'm curious, like for when you're like low energy, right? If there's times where you're just not feeling it for the day, or I guess advice you'd give to someone who is naturally maybe a little bit lower energy, how can you naturally increase your energy, your vibrations?
Yeah. I think the best answer to that is exercise. Get moving. Move your body. I feel like there is so much that comes with just moving. And I can say this because I've been in a place where like I got into a car accident many years ago. It led to me being pretty stagnant. I was always myself. Like the Avo you know today, that was me before. I got into this car accident. It messed me up for a little bit. I wasn't able to do much. That put me in a negative mental mindset, something that I went through for a little bit. And I had to really dig myself out of that. And what dug me out of that was getting my ass up. It's easy to sit home and be sad and want to keep to yourself and have low energy and all these things. I literally had to force my ass off the couch and just to go walk my dog. Like
Oh,
it literally started with like my whole body hurt. I was in a negative space and I was like, just take the dog for a walk. And that led into, okay, I'm going to go on a quick jog. Then that led into like, I'm going to start doing these park workouts. That led into, I'm going to get a gym membership. And I would go to the gym and I would look at my watch. How quickly can I be out of here and do the bare minimum? And then that turned into, okay, I'm actually kind of enjoying the gym. Now, how can I actually go make the best use of my time and be productive?
mhm.
Right. And when you do those things, it not only benefits your mental, but physically you feel better. You're going to sleep better. You're going to have more energy naturally as a result of those things. When you start to see physical benefits from it, like losing weight or building muscle, whatever that looks like for you, you start to build more confidence. All of these things start to build more energy. So I think my best answer would be get moving, start
Yeah,
do shit.
yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Like to move, literally scientifically proven that it releases serotonin and all those things that will
Yeah.
increase your energy.
Is that why you do push-ups on the corner when you're doing open houses?
Dude, that's just to challenge myself, man. That's for hopes of someone driving by on the busy street, pulling over and being like, "Who the hell are you? Let me buy a house from you." You watch, it's gonna happen one day. Just wait, bro.
I'm gonna start doing it too once it
It'll be my
does.
new lead generation method.
Yeah.
I'll teach it to my team, and we'll be known for doing push-ups on busy streets. But um, back to the topic of energy, my mentality around this has always been it's all up in your head, right? And so one thing that I've learned, I'll go up against 7 different agents on a listing appointment, right? And most of the time I'll win. And that's not because I have some secret process or I'm sliding the seller's cash or something. It's literally my energy. Before I walk into a house, before I walk into an appointment, a sales meeting, a phone call, any interaction, whether it's personal or business,
Mhm.
I shift my energy. And the way I do that is by gratitude. Like I think of all the things that I'm grateful for in the moment, all the things that I have in my life, all the things that I'm looking forward to, and my vibrations just increase. All of a sudden, a smile goes on my face. All of a sudden, I'm projecting that aura, that energy, that vibe that brings people in rather than repels them.
Yeah.
And that right there is the number one sales tactic. That right there is the number one relationship building tactic. It's the skill that will leave a great impression on anyone you talk to.
Yeah.
And that's my way of doing it. And I think paired with, like you said, moving and working out, I mean, that kind of just stabilizes it.
For sure.
That way it's not just like a quick jolt
Yeah.
of good energy. It's there for as
Yeah.
long as I can have that.
Yeah.
So I see that with you, man. Like I know you practice gratitude because there's no way. you would be where you're at today if you didn't. Like,
Mhm.
to get to the next level, you have to be grateful for what you have.
For sure.
And I know you do that. Do you have a specific way you practice gratitude? I know some journal, some think of it mentally, some just tell people in their life like what they're grateful for. Like, what's your method?
Yeah, I feel like it's part of my morning routine. I'm very much a thinker. It's a lot more in my head. I don't
Mm,
journal or do that, but like my morning routine consists of me getting up early. I drive to the gym most of the time with no music on. That's just like my time to think, and like my wife calls me a serial killer because I'll drive with like no music or anything
dude, I
playing.
guess I'm a serial killer too.
But like I'm such a deep thinker and I'm always processing that stuff and just being grateful for how far I've come and everything I have ahead of me and all the blessings in my life. So it's definitely a lot more in my head. But one thing I was going to say about what you mentioned is like, this is what I try to live my business as right now. And I know I shared this with your team on the topic of energy and how you come off. It's like people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Mm,
And that is the number one thing I try to implement in my business is making people feel special, creating memorable experiences working with me. And it's beyond giving a gift or anything like that. Those are parts of what I do in my business, but it starts with you. How do you make them feel when they interact with you? Do they leave that conversation better and excited to see you again or talk to you again or connect with you again? Or are they drained and are like, oh, Ari's kind of weird, Like my goal is just to always leave a positive impression on people, and that starts with your energy. So,
dude, that's powerful.
yeah,
That's powerful. Like, if anyone could take something away from this podcast and just run with it, regardless of what business you're in, it's that.
yeah,
It's your energy. It's constantly manipulating it to keep it positive, and I think that's so important. Avo, what's your goal? Like, you're at this point in your business where you're absolutely crushing it. I think every realtor dreams to have the kind of business you have. Where do you see yourself in a year from now, in 3 years, and 5 years from now?
yeah. Good question. I was thinking about this a lot today, actually, because where my business is going and the direction it's growing in, it's not sustainable for me to be the one doing everything. And I've put a lot of leverage in place. I have an assistant, I have a VA, a TC doing these things, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, I need boots on the ground. I need either an agent supporting me as a production partner, or I need a full time assistant doing everything else that a non licensee can do. So putting that kind of leverage in place, I think, is the next big step for me in my business. That's probably more my 12-month plan. Um, a long-term goal of mine that I want to start executing on and at least putting things in place to grow to that because that's not going to happen overnight. I would love to get into the general contracting and development side of real estate. So I've really been toying with the idea of starting to study to get a GC license because that'll one day grow into development, right? You gotta crawl, walk, run. You can't just start running. So for me, long term, I would love to get into development, and I think that starts with smaller scale general contracting. So right now, that's a 10-year plan. I'm so focused on the mission right now, which is building my real estate career and trying to automate a lot more of that. Once I feel like that's in a place that, I cannot be the go-to for everything because my business is really dependent on me right now. I feel like an employee in my business, not a business owner,
Mhm.
because it's so dependent on me. I need to figure out how to leverage it to a greater degree to where I can focus time on something like general contracting. And like I said, that's going to be probably more of a 5, 10 year plan, but that's where I see myself growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leverage. What a
Yeah.
powerful word. What's been the most difficult thing about leverage? Because obviously I know you're still leveraging a lot of things at a high level, but continuing to leverage, there's always going to be something more. Like, what's your challenge behind that?
It's letting go.
Yeah.
It's letting go. I'm very much a control freak. And I know a lot of people probably say that, but I like things done a certain way up to my standard,
Mhm.
and not everybody has the same standards. So I feel like that's been a tough thing to, figure out. But also, if I can find someone to do it 85% as good as me, that's got to be good enough,
You hear that,
right?
guys? Avo is hiring officially. So DM Avo
Send in
if
your
you
resumes.
send the resumes, have them prepped, nice and polished, up to his standard. Most importantly,
Yeah. Bring the good energy.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny, man. Awesome, dude. If you were to give one last piece of valuable advice, a thought, something that can be left with not just a realtor, but any entrepreneur, what would that be?
Bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. Nothing good ever comes from playing it safe. Nothing good ever comes from staying comfortable. If you want to do big shit, you got to have big energy and you got to go for it. And that is the number one thing I would say to anybody that has big goals and big dreams and big aspirations is you got to get out of the comfortable mindset of having a steady paycheck. It might feel like that is comfort and that's what's right for you. But if you have big goals and you're an employee in someone else's business, you are always going to be a slave to that business, right? And the only way to really accomplish what your goals and dreams are to give everything else up and commit to it 100%. So, I mean, man, the amount of times that I hear from someone like, I'm going to get my real estate license and I'm just going to do it on the side. And I tell them not to do it. It's like, if you're going to do it, fucking do it. You're not going to make it giving part-time energy. And that goes for anything, whether you want to get into real estate or you want to go do something else, fucking do it.
Wow,
That's my best advice. Fucking do
that's powerful.
it.
Bet on yourself, go all in, fucking do it. Ladies and gents, that is Avo for you guys. Avo, where can they find you if they want to reach out?
Instagram at Avo Sells AZ.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, brother. Happy birthday.
Thanks.